Hi, I want to talk about the final project and give you some more instruction. So, if you go to the syllabus and you go down to the course requirements, you will see that progress toward the final project is happening weekly. So everything that we've been doing so far is going to culminate in your final project, and your final project is going to be an integrated or differentiated curriculum, which is due May 13th. So the purpose of the project is for you to experience the process of curriculum development. Each student will develop a curriculum for a course that is either differentiated, incorporating all levels of students from learning disabilities to gifted students, all preferences and cultures, and however your needs vary in your classroom, the curriculum can be differentiated. And then some people have already differentiated their curriculum, and so for them, I'm asking you to integrate a 21st century theme: global citizenship, civics and social justice, and everyone is welcome to do both. So the purpose is to experience the process. That means that if you have a curriculum that's given to you by a district, I'm not asking you to turn in for a final project your district's curriculum. I am asking you to do something new and original, working on it week by week. And if it's something that you're not going to be able to use in the classroom, then it will serve as something in your portfolio that you created this curriculum. So the final curriculum project should include the following sections: design and diagnosis of the curriculum. So in that, you will explain the curriculum theory or model used, which can be understanding by design that you're reading this week. And as I have mentioned, if you do not want to use that, there are other models in Chapter 5 of the Oliva text that you can choose. And then the description of your students or the students who would be served by this curriculum and their learning needs, and the reason for the curricular revisions. So you can talk about how you did an alignment of the curriculum to the standards and you saw that some of the standards were not being met. Or you could say that the curriculum was aligned to the state standards but not the national standards, and so you use this as a chance to align the curriculum to the national standards in your content area that you're focusing on. Or that it wasn't differentiated, it didn't include global learning, or it didn't include social justice, and so those would all be good reasons for making revision. I also want to know the general information. So what's the course title, grade level, subject, or department, depending on if you're elementary or secondary. Any prerequisites. So if this is an Algebra 2 class, do your students have to pass Algebra 1? Do they have to pass with a C? What's the prerequisites? A general description of the course and a major focus. And then 10 curriculum goals or essential questions that are connected to the state or national standards. So next week, in week 5, you will be writing these goals or essential questions, and then you'll be connecting the goals to the state and national standards and looking at pacing as well as what the priority ones are. And then in the following weeks, we'll be writing instructional objectives, differentiated or integrated learning activities, assessments, and then your reflection on the entire curriculum. So if we go to the Canvas and you scroll down, you can see that Module 8 is the final week. And so if you click on that, you can see again that you need the following components organized in this form and labeled accordingly. So again, it just spells out for you what I'm looking for and about the page requirements that I'm looking for. And then I have given you some templates. So you viewed one of the templates this week. And so you can see if your curriculum is aligned to the state standards. When I looked at your discussion boards, I saw that not everyone did this. You were also supposed to see if they connected to the national standards. And then in week 5, you'll start thinking about the sequence. So what will be the sequence? You can then in week 5, you can use the sequence tab to decide the order of the units to make sure that you're hitting the priority standards that need to be hit before any supporting standards. I thought it might be helpful for you to see a completed one. So this is an Algebra 1 curriculum, and you can see that in the first step they did was just mark. They put their units and the standards, and they just marked when it was going to be hit. And notice that it doesn't just have to be once. So you might be using a cyclical style where you introduce a standard, then you reinforce a standard, and then you master the standard. So they wrote the standards over here because they found that was helpful. And then they used the highlighting mechanism in week 5 to go back and highlight which ones were the priority standards. Then when they went to sequence, they just put it in the order and what quarter it was. And then they use these tabs to actually write their curriculum. So here's the name. This is Unit 1. Happens in quarter 1, so that's the scope and sequence. So it's Unit 1, quarter 1. The standards that were addressed, and then what vocabulary they were going to be using, what digital resources or textbook chapter they were going to be using. And so that's one way that you can use this, is to actually write your curriculum. So you could put, if you look in this, you'll see I have aligned it to what I'm asking for. So the number of days, that's the scope, and the sequence, what unit number, and the unit name, the essential question, or you can change that to curriculum goals, the standard, the instructional objective, learning activity, assessment. Here's a place for any notes for you, vocabulary, the resources, all right? So you could use this that you copied into your drive to actually write your curriculum for your final project, and then you would insert the link to this in your document. Now, not everyone loves Google Drive, so if you want to do a Word document, that's fine. If you do, you could use this format as a template. So your essential question 1, list it, and then objective 1, A, that matches that, activity 1A, then maybe you would have objective 1B that matches that essential question, and you would kind of do it in an outline. So here's an example of somebody's final project that used Word. And so you can see they have some description and words, and then their actual philosophy. The formatting was a little different, and I just wanted to show you an example of what it could look like. So objectives for curriculum goal 1, here's the goal, there's 3 objectives, so objective 1.1, so it's goal 1, objective 1, activity 1.1, assessment 1.1, objective 1.2, activity 1.2, assessment 1.2, objective 1.3, activity 1.3, okay? So you get the gist of that. And you can see that example here. Now, these are examples of formatting. They're not examples of wonderful curricula. That is what you are going to be doing. You are going to be creating the wonderful curriculum. So every week we're working towards this. You already wrote your educational philosophy. If you did a great job, all you'll have to do is cut and paste that into your final project. If you need to do some revisions, then you have time to revise before your final project. Then in week 3, you determined what standards are missing, so you can use that in your rationale of why you needed to do revisions. This week, you're determining if understanding by design will be your curriculum development model, and if not, you're going to read chapter 5 to find a different model. In week 5, you're going to write your essential questions or curriculum goals. You're going to identify priority standards and sequence priority standards. So I wanted you to know that what we're getting into next week is your final project. You're going to turn it in to me, get feedback, but all of this is building on to your final project. So the essential questions that you write for me next week are not different than the essential questions you're writing for your final project. They are the same thing. All right, so you can see every week we go through. In week 11, we're going to add some digital resources to make sure that your curriculum is digital in nature. And then week 14, we will peer review before turning it in on the final date. Your final project will be assessed according to these criteria, and the criteria are aligned to our course goals. So our course goal 1, 3, 4, 2, 5, they're all listed out here for you. I won't read them to you now. And then I also linked some ways you can organize if you just want to download it. Okay, so we are going to have a Zoom session. If you you can see February 15th at 4 o'clock. It should show up in your Zooms that you will be able to talk to me about your final project, and you'll be able to hear other people talk about theirs, what they're doing. We'll problem solve any issues you're running into. We'll clarify things, and so maybe someone else will have a question that is your question and we can answer them all at once, or maybe someone else will ask a question you didn't even think about but you're so glad you heard. So that's why I wanted us all to have a session together. If you need help with Zoom, you can get Zoom training right here to learn more about that. And if you have any questions at all, please reach out to me. I am here to help.